Hey Crestwood, happy Wednesday to you all. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying this day and this week. What a blessing it is to wake up every day knowing that God has something planned for us today and just staying open to that, open to receiving that, open to answering God's call. It is such a blessing and a privilege to serve God, and certainly my privilege to serve you all as your pastor, and honored to be with you on this Wednesday, June 10th, to bring you this devotional. May was a month, let me tell you. May was a month. I sat down yesterday and did some calculations. And for the month of May, I averaged driving 136 miles a day. That's like a round trip to Cincinnati and back at least every day because of graduations and moving kids and board meetings and all these sorts of things. Let me tell you, I am glad to be in Lexington. But my last trip was a little bit different. My friend Michael and I went on a hiking trip over to Pennsylvania and Maryland and West Virginia, and we ended in New River Gorge National Park. I'd never been there before. It's beautiful, and probably my favorite moment was going to Sandstone Falls. We had heard about it, thought we would check it out. It wasn't a high on our list of things to do, but since we were in the national park, we thought, why not? So we got there, and there's a boardwalk that takes you out to a view of the falls, a very accessible national park, which I thought was really cool. So we walked out to the end of the boardwalk and had this great view of the falls. And here, I want to show you what that looked like. So that's the view we saw from the boardwalk. Beautiful. I love waterfalls. I think they're so cool. But as we were coming back, we noticed there were 3 steps down off the boardwalk, put in there by the staff. So it was like an invitation, but there was no trail going from that. So we're like, let's see where that goes. And so we walked down those steps and began to work our way out towards the falls, did a little rock scrambling to get there. But the closer we got to the falls, the more we realized what a beautiful view this is going to give us. And we were able to get so close to the falls that it literally just took my breath away. Here, I want to show you what that looked like. So that's what we saw when we left that path and went out to the falls to see where that took us. And as I was thinking about that, I've thought about that a lot the last few days. There's a path that we have that's set in front of us that we feel like maybe that we're called to walk, we're obligated to walk. This is what we're supposed to do. And so we walk that path. And that's what we did on the boardwalk that took us out to that first view of the falls. But sometimes I feel like God gives us a few steps away from our path. It's an invitation to a detour, an invitation to an alternative route that we never know what that will lead to. I'm so glad Michael and I decided to follow those 3 steps and to see where it took us, because it gave us such a different perspective and such an awe-inspiring view of the falls. And in my life, I know I can get so tunnel visioned, I no, this is what I'm supposed to do, that I don't see the other places around me where God is active and at work. I don't take the risk of taking that detour, taking those few steps away from what I think the routine is, to see what God has in store for me. I mean, I just knew that I was going to be a college professor. That was my focus. And then God created these steps towards ministry and invited me to take those steps and see where they led. And here I am today. So Crestwood, what I want to encourage you to do is today I want you to look for those steps off the routine. Where is God calling you maybe to follow a new path? It may not be clearly laid out. Ours certainly wasn't at the falls. It was just 3 steps down and then a bunch of dirt and rocks, and we had to make our way. But by making our way, we found something that was so much more beautiful to us and majestic to us than just following the path. Sometimes I think God invites us to take a new path, but doesn't lay it out step by step all the way to the end, but gives us agency to forge our own path as we go. And who knows what we discover at the end of that. Crestwood, it is such an honor to serve you, and I really want to encourage you today to look for places where God is calling you to deviate. I think of Moses in the burning bush. Moses had taken those sheep up that mountain for 40 years that he had done that. And then one day he sees a bush that was on fire but not consumed. And it tells us he turned aside to look at that bush. And it was the turning aside that allowed him to experience God's presence. Crestwood, where today can we turn aside? Where today can we give our attention to something or someone that we've been aware of, but not really focused on. Who knows what God has planned for us when we're willing to take a few steps off the path to see who God is calling us to be and where God is calling us to go. Crestwood, I pray today you are blessed by taking a little bit of a detour, by turning aside to see what God has planned for you. God bless you, Crestwood.